Welcome into the show. What's going on, everybody? This is Chargers Now. I am your host, Will Ortner. And as NFL free agency is looming, despite the Chargers still being in the NFL postseason, it's time to look at the top free agent targets that the Chargers could potentially want in the 2026 NFL offseason. And you have to remember, the Chargers are going to have some of the most cap space in the National Football League. So Chargers might end up actually really throwing some money around when it comes to this offseason. You're going to see a couple of players that I think they should target in positions that aren't so sexy, but you're also going to see a couple of players that the Chargers should target into positions that definitely are a little sexier. Starting with the sexiest position in all of football, I'm talking to you about Zion Johnson and the offensive line of the Los Angeles Chargers. Okay, maybe the offensive line isn't the sexiest position in all of football, but Zion Johnson has performed, I think, fairly well this season for the Chargers. Obviously, he had a great rookie campaign coming out of Boston College for LA, and ever since he's moved over to the other side of the field, still working obviously on that offensive line, Johnson kind of struggled in the years previously leading up to this one. That being said, this year has been his best season, and it hasn't been close. In a year where you've had both of your starting tackles between Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater end up getting hurt and missing the entire season or a good chunk of the season, Johnson has really held it down in the middle of the offensive line for the Chargers. I understand that the rest of the guys around him haven't played too well, but I do think Johnson would come back on a team-friendly deal. And from some of the quotes that we've heard from head coach Jim Harbaugh, it does feel like he might end up on this Chargers roster again next year. Now we look at the fourth player that I have on my top free agent targets, and that would be edge rusher Jaelan Phillips. Why would I go after Jaelan Phillips if I was the Chargers? Well, it's simple. You get a young edge rusher who's played in a lot of important football games, or who I believe will play in a lot of important football games because of the NFL 2026 playoffs. I think that the Eagles might go on a little bit of a run here in the NFC, at least until they go up against maybe the Seahawks or the Chicago Bears. But right now, the Chargers need a young edge. Khalil Mack is not getting any younger. You can add him on the other side of Oweh and have a fantastic edge rushing duo that are both on the same time frame. Too often we see teams go out and have a young edge rusher and an old edge rusher, and they can't marry the two together. I think if you take Oweh and you have Jaelan Phillips on either side of the football, one on the left, one on the right, teams are going to be absolutely terrified trying to block that duo. Now, I do have three more free agent targets that we need to go through, especially because these ones are just going to get better every single player that we go through for the Chargers. But before I get to that, I do need to ask you right now, is there a free agent on the free agent market, or who is supposed to be on the free agent market, that you think would best fit into the Chargers? It can be an offensive player, it can be a defensive player, whatever you decide. Let me know down below in the comment section. I've got my top five. That doesn't mean that you Charger fans don't have a better player that can be added to that list. Let me know down below in the comments. Okay, next player that we got to talk about, Breece Hall. Now, I understand why there are some people here going, Will, we just drafted Amari Hampton. Vidal has been fantastic as kind of that number 2 running back role. Well, here's the deal. Breece Hall, he instantly boosts this rushing attack for the Chargers. We know what head coach Jim Harbaugh wants to do. He wants to run the football, beat teams up, and then use Justin Herbert in the play-action pass game. It makes so much sense for Harbaugh to bring in a guy like Hall, who had so much success early on in his career with the Jets, to really accentuate the strengths that he has. He can come in and instantly add an extra possession or two for this Chargers team. One, because he can catch the ball out of the backfield, but more importantly, he can run the football extremely well on the edges. Breece Hall would be a fantastic add for this Chargers team. The next player that I want to take a look at is wide receiver Alec Pierce. And my reasoning for looking at Alec Pierce is because he would instantly add a big play catching ability for this team. You can see every single week, every single year, Pierce is getting better and better and better. He's a taller, longer receiver. Now, Quentin Johnston was supposed to be the guy who came in and filled that role for this team when we drafted him. But that's the thing. He really hasn't done that. Give Herbert another weapon, a sure-handed receiver who's going to catch the football. Pierce has shown that he can do it with quarterbacks that, frankly, are subpar. He did it with Anthony Richardson. He did it with Daniel Jones. Now imagine what he will be able to do in an offense that has, probably top 5 QB in the National Football League, at worst, top 8. I think Alec Pierce would be a home run signing, and you can never have too many weapons when you have a quarterback like Justin Herbert. The last player, and I guess I should say the first player, the most important player that I think that the Chargers should go out and target in free agency is center for the Baltimore Ravens, Tyler Linderbaum. Why do I believe that? Because the interior of the offensive line has been atrocious this season. Now, the entire offensive line has been bad, but that's because you're missing your starting left tackle and your starting right tackle. When Slater and Alt come back, if you add a player like Linderbaum into the middle, all of a sudden this offensive line went from one of, if not the worst offensive lines in the National Football League to one of the best, if not the best, like that. I'll tell you right now, if you go out and get Linderbaum, it's a home run signing. He's going to make it easier to run the football up the middle for this team. He's also going to make it easier for Justin Herbert to call the offense, to make adjustments, because Linderbaum can do that himself as well. He is a second quarterback out on the field, and I'll tell you right now, you cannot go wrong if the Chargers sign Tyler Linderbaum. Going through my top free agent targets right there, you've got Johnson, would be a great re-signing. You got Jaelan Phillips, great on the edge. Breece Hall would be fantastic. Alec Pierce gives Herbert another weapon. And of course, Tyler Linderbaum would be the biggest and the most important signing that the Chargers could make. Come on in and hit that subscribe button. We are going to be live for the Chargers-Patriots game here on the channel. The best way to make sure that you are alerted or reminded that that is happening is by hitting that sub button. We are so close to 1,000 subscribers, at least close in my own eyes. Hit that sub button. You're going to get Chargers content as much as possible throughout the year of 2026. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and bolt up.